All right, welcome to the Podcast Express. I am Mike with my cousin Joe from Missouri. It's been a long 2 weeks without doing this show. Well, I take it back. We didn't do the show last week, so if you're wondering, all 5 of our fans, if you're wondering why we haven't had a show in the last 2 weeks, so here's the scoop. 2 weeks ago, we had Vinny Massaro from Lucha Underground on, and he called in, and his cell reception was not very good. Apparently, he called us while he was driving. And he was giving a really good interview, but the phone kept cutting in and out. And the phone cell, his reception just dropped. He would call back and this and that. And me, like an asshole, I tried to edit around that. And when I did it, I deleted the damn show, and to where if some of you actually saw it, it was posted for about 30 minutes and it was only 2 minutes long, which happens to be the length of the intro song that I was using because we were doing a tribute to Linkin Park after Chester Bennington had just committed suicide. So not that that's funny, but the whole situation just sucked. So that whole show got scrapped. And then last week I had a planned vacation. I was up in the Redwoods camping, man. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the air here. How are you doing, Joe?
Doing pretty good, man. I've got some football on in the background here. We've got SummerSlam coming up in a couple weeks, so it's my favorite time of year.
Oh yeah, man! It feels so good to just have football on. I'll be kicking it on in a little bit as soon as the show's over. I don't have a TV here in Gilbert Studios, also known as my wife's office. So she will not allow.
It's nice of her to let you use the office.
Right. Yeah, she will not allow me to have a TV in here. So, all right. So we got a lot to get to. There's no guest this week because, like I said, I was on vacation last week and I came back into work. And man, after being gone for a week, you kind of come into a whirlwind. So I had a lot to get through, and I just totally did not have time to line up a guest. So it's just you and me, man. Let's say we go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, let's.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, let's jump right into it. You want to start off with UFC this past weekend?
Yeah, man. UFC 214 was this past Saturday night. I had just gotten home from Garberville up in the very top of California. And I'd gotten home a couple hours before the show started, but did not pay for it. So, as we usually say on the show, XWT is your friend. And I got up early Sunday morning while my wife was asleep, and I watched the whole show, and I got to tell you, it was a damn good show.
It was, man. From top to bottom, if you take out the Tyrone Woodley fight, which we'll get to in a minute, that was one of the better UFC products I've seen in a while, top to bottom.
Yeah,
but
and
you had that fucking snooze fest of Woodley and Maya in there. Yeah.
So, thankfully, because XWT is your friend, I was able to fast forward through a lot of that. But I'll be honest, I didn't even look at Twitter or Facebook or anything. I did not have any results before I watched it on Sunday morning. And I watched the first round and a half, and I would just skip like a couple of minutes ahead all throughout the fight. And I could tell that it was one of the worst fights in UFC history. And Turns out I'm not alone in thinking that. Dana White also thought that, because I watched the press conference afterwards. And Dana White basically said that Tyrone Woodley is one of the most boring fighters in the world, and no one is going to pay to see him fight. He's talking about one of his best pound-for-pound fighters, who is his welterweight champion. He trashed him on the air in front of everybody, and he was supposed to fight George St. Pierre in November at Madison Square Garden. But as we have been saying on this show, one of our catchphrases is, Dana White is a liar.
Dana White is a fucking liar.
Dana White's a fucking liar. So the original plan was George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping, and then when that fight got pushed back due to injury, Dana White said, no, George St. Pierre is fighting Tyrone Woodley. And George St. Pierre the whole time was saying, no, I'm fighting Michael Bisping, and not to believe Dana White. And because Dana White is a liar, he lied that whole time, and turns out George St. Pierre was right all along. After the fight was over, Dana White was using the poor performance of Tyrone Woodley as an excuse to pull George St. Pierre from the title fight. And now, November 4th in Madison Square Garden, it looks like it's going to be George St. Pierre and Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. So what do you think about that whole situation, man? Are you even excited to see GSP and Michael Bisping?
Yeah, how can you be an MMA fan and not be excited for the return of GSP? I mean, the guy was one of the most dominant champions of all time. Michael Bisping is one of the best shit talkers out there. I think it'll be a really good fight. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's been, close to 3 years since GSP has last fought. I mean, he had that rumble with Johnny Hendricks there, which I still to this day feel like he lost.
He did. Yeah.
But he's still one of the best fighters in the world. So will the ring rust affect him at all? I mean, we know the guy keeps himself in immaculate shape. He's one of the only guys that you never have to worry about coming, into a fight and have to worry about his weigh-ins because he's always in pristine condition. But for Dana White, the fight was boring. The Tyrone Woodley fight was boring and whatever if you don't want to put Woodley against CSP. But to come out and just completely trash your champion, you've had a shitty year for pay-per-view buys. Why are you going to completely bury one of your champions like that and make it to where people don't want to pay to watch him fight? Find a way to build him up, light a fire under his ass, something. Don't say he's a piece of shit and, a boring fighter and nobody should pay to watch him fight. That's not going to help your business. That's an awful idea.
Right. Telling us what we already know. We know that Woodley is boring. Now, I say that he has had some good fights. The first Wonderboy Thompson fight was good. The second one was garbage, right? But he has had some exciting fights in the past.
The Robbie Lawler fight where he won the title.
Well, that was about a 30-second fight, but
still exciting.
Awesome
he finished the fight.
Yeah. And then after the press conference, Tyrone Woodley goes on to Ariel Helwani's show, the MMA Hour on MMAfighting.com, and said that he is going to start leaking information about Dana White if Dana White doesn't give him a public apology. What possibly could Tyrone Woodley have on Dana White? Do you think that this is a Pissgate situation? Dana White and Donald Trump are friends. Dana White does a lot of business with Russians. Is it possible that Dana White was peeing on people in a Russian hotel room with Donald Trump?
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, he's a rich white businessman. I mean, those guys are into some weird shit. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where this will go, though, because if you're Woodley and you open up your mouth too much, I mean, Dana White has the power to strip you of your title.
Yeah. Well, and he could also pee in it.
Yeah, he could pee on him.
I mean, allegedly, if that's the case, obviously.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what's going to come out, but I'm also not saying it. So, I mean, either way there.
You're not saying it. Yeah.
Not saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Right. I don't know it for a fact, but it's probably true. But
now we'll know it's true if Dana White comes out and denies it.
Right. Well, since Tyron Woodley threatened to leak, and he actually threatened to leaks again on Twitter by showing a picture, like a collage of leaky pipes, and then one guy had piss in his pants. So that's what made me think that there is a pee tape out there of Dana White. But since then, though, I think just a couple of days ago on Tuesday, I actually brought this up on the Garbage Time Points podcast. Shout out to Mike, Fredo, and Ricky Raposa and the boys over there. They had me on again this week. Although their internet sucks and I got cut off, they still gave us a huge shout out on the show, so thank you to those guys. But before I got rudely interrupted by their lack of them paying their internet bill, I was making an extremely good point, at least I thought it was, that that obviously he had something good on Dana, because since that had come out, man, Dana has basically said, no, me and Tyrone Woodley are good. They talked. There was no public apology, but they're on the same page now. So it seems as though that has been squashed. But Dana also said, which most likely is a lie, that he wants Robbie Lawler to fight Tyrone Woodley next. I really like that fight. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I had seen that come out, and from what I read, Woodley wasn't interested in that fight. But it's kind of one of those situations when you think back towards the end of Anderson Silva's run, where, and not saying that Tyrone Woodley is as good as Anderson Silva, because that's not the case here.
No, not even he. So he won the title from Lawler, then he had a draw with Wonderboy, and then he beat Wonderboy in a terrible fight, and then he beat Damian Maia in an even worse fight. So he does not draw a fucking dime for that company. He should accept whatever opponent comes his way. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing with Tyrone Woodley is what he is good at. He is very fucking good at, and that is making sure he does not lose a fight. He's good at takedown defense, and he's good at defensive fighting. So he will make it to where he won't win the fight, but he's also not going to lose it. That's what happened in the Maia fight.
Yeah.
And towards the end of Anderson Silva's run, that's what Anderson Silva started doing. He started not losing fights as opposed to winning them. Well, and that's what UFC fans hate. That's what Dana White hates.
Well, that's what George St. Pierre was doing. So for everybody that's clamoring to see George St. Pierre and Tyron Woodley fight, they would fight for 25 minutes and probably touch each other 7 times, Exactly. So what in that situation, even for St. Pierre, for Anderson Silva, what did Dana White do? What he's kind of good at. For Anderson Silva, he put Chael Sonnen in front of him, a guy who's going to take the fight to him. Mm-hmm. For George St. Pierre, he put Johnny Hendricks in front of him, a guy who's going to take the fight to him. Oh, and he gave him Nick Diaz as well. Nick Diaz put a whipping on him too.
Yeah, guys who are not afraid to go in there and exchange blows and just truly have no regard for themselves because they trust their jaw, they trust their chin to not get knocked out, they trust their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to not get tapped out, so they're going to take the fight to those guys. Robbie Lawler is the best guy for Tyron Woodley for that reason, because Robbie Lawler will go in there and he will take the fight to Tyron Woodley and he'll wake his ass up. He'll throw some bombs and he'll remind him that he's a UFC fighter and not a wrestler anymore. He's not there to just prevent takedowns and stand around for 25 minutes. And that's why that fight needs to happen, because there's nobody else in that division who's going to stand in there and just go headfirst into Tyron Woodley and just make it a slugfest. And that's what Robbie Lawler will do. Absolutely.
And Lawler has really good takedown defense. He's fought really good wrestlers in the past. So he fought Johnny Hendricks and beat him. So yeah, I think that's the fight that they do next. Now, Tyron said he's got a labrum tear, but who knows what's real and what's not, and who knows how long he's going to be out. Robbie Lawler also said that he's not particularly interested right now because he is more thinking about Matt Hughes, who was in that terrible train accident. So we'll see if it happens. We'll see if they do an interim title. We'll see if they try to dig up Nick Diaz and bring him back and have him lose again. Who knows, man? But before we get into the main event, because there's lots to talk about there, Cyborg beat up a bar skank for the UFC featherweight title. What the fuck was that?
You know what? I feel bad because I'm drawing a blank on the girl's name right now.
Tanya Evans.
But
she's been around a long time. She's a really good fighter, but she is a 135-pound champion on the independent scene who came up to fight 145. It was a total mismatch, and Cyborg beat her easily.
100%. My favorite part about that fight was Dominic Cruz's commentary, just completely blasting the girl. I, again, can't remember her name. I'm still learning a lot of these women's fighters' names, so do forgive me for that. But they offered a fight to the 145 champion at the time, and she would have rather dropped the title than fight Cyborg to defend her title.
Yeah, the UFC, so her name is Jermaine Durandamine, and the UFC should cut her ass. She wanted the 145-pound title, and then the first time they wanted her to defend it, she dropped the title and said, no, I'm not defending it against Cyborg. That's such horseshit. And then Tanya, hey, kudos to Tanya Evanger. I know I made fun of her a little bit. She looked really out of shape, did not belong in there whatsoever. But, man, she's tough. And she lasted into the third round with Cyborg, which most people don't last a minute, and took a lot of that punishment and took her down a couple of times, and actually it was a huge mismatch, but it was a lot more competitive than what anybody else would have thought. So she's really tough, man, and I hope that they keep her around and put her back in the 135-pound division, just so she can get some more paydays. But
if anything else, she earned herself another fight because she was out of her class there, but, man, she didn't back down at all. There was times where she was stalking Cyborg and, chasing her down, and they were talking how all these women are afraid of her, and then you have someone that nobody knows of who's not going to back down. Like that right there, I would like to watch her fight again. I'd like to watch her in her own division, not against somebody like Cyborg, who is clearly head and shoulders above everybody else in her weight class. But hopefully that makes other women in the UFC say, hey, if she could do it, why not me? Like, is she braver than I am? Is she tougher than I am? Like that's where it's down to right now. It's not how good you are. It's, are you fucking tough enough to step in there against Cyborg? Like, don't let that be the reason you lose a fight.
Right. So after the fight, Dana White said that he wants to make the Holly Holm Cyborg fight. I like that fight. I would love to see it. I don't know that Holly Holm wants it, so she went back down to 135 pounds. But Kat Zingano, who is a really tough 135-pound woman fighter, she cuts a little bit of weight to make 135, has been clamoring for that fight for a long time. She really wants the fight. So if Holly Holm even has a question about wanting to take it, I say just give it to Kat Zingano, because not many other people are stepping up to want to take that fight. So, but it's a fake belt for a fake division. There's only one fighter who makes that weight. Everybody else has to gain a lot of weight to even fight in that division. So at this point, it's really all kind of a spectacle. And speaking of which, after the fight, whoever handles Cyborg's Twitter account, I don't think the Cyborg has the mental faculties to actually handle a Twitter account, but they've been going back and forth with Becky Lynch from WWE SmackDown about a possible match at SummerSlam. Now, we read the Observer today. It doesn't look like that's happening, but that would be pretty interesting, man. I'd actually really like to see that. I think Cyborg is tailor-made for the WWE.
Yeah, and I like these UFC, WWE crossovers because they're not competing companies, but they're competing companies, and they have a lot of the same fan base. So I think it helps both companies when you have a build-up like that. Obviously, in a real fight, Cyborg would absolutely murder Becky Lynch. Everybody knows that, Becky Lynch herself. But it would be interesting to see Cyborg do something in WWE.
Yeah.
It could be a play for WrestleMania where maybe, WWE, which we'll get to later, loans Brock Lesnar to UFC. And in return, if Brock Lesnar doesn't fail his drug test like he did last year, UFC can give something back, loan WWE Cyborg or something like that for Mania. Even if it's not a full match, just for some type of spot, just something interesting for the fans to plant seeds for the future. I like the idea of that. I mean, it's fun. It's cool to see.
Yeah, man. And if Cyborg's willing to do it, man, screw it. Just do it. That'd be really cool, man. Also on the undercard was the fight that I think people were most looking forward to was Robbie Lawler and Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Robbie Lawler won the bout 29-28 in somewhat of a disputed decision. I actually had it that score. I thought Robbie Lawler won the first and third round with Cowboy taking the second. But it was a really fun back and forth fight. I like to see them do it again down the road, maybe a 5-rounder. Because usually it's the fourth and fifth round where Robbie really turns things up, and those brawls are usually pretty epic. So I really enjoyed the fight. It did not win fight of the night. It was given to a guy named Brian Ortega on the undercard or on the prelims. But I thought it was awesome, man. What did you think?
Yeah, no, honestly, if that fight wasn't on the card, I probably wouldn't have ordered the pay-per-view. I'm a huge Robbie Lawler fan, huge Donald Cerrone fan. Those are two guys who are willing to just fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. They don't care the weight class, whatever. If there's somebody in front of them, they're going to fight them. That's all there is to it. I'm a huge, like I said, huge Robbie Lawler fan. It was cool to see them get in there and throw down a little bit. A lot of the Donald Cerrone fights I've watched have all been on short notice where somebody pulls out of the fight and Cerrone's the only one willing to step in. So it was nice to be able to watch him with the full camp. I would like to see Cerrone get a title shot one day. It'd be cool to see a Cerrone-Robbie Lawler rematch, 5 rounds for the title. I hope one day that comes up.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome. All right, so to the main event, Jon Jones and Daniel DC Cormier, and Jon Jones won with a head kick in the third round. He clearly had him knocked out. It was a really good fight up until that point, and man, poor Daniel Cormier. He's been. Dude, I am a huge fan of his. He is a big pro wrestling fan. He is one of the best MMA fighters in the world. I would say he's number 2 pound for pound. Because he's undefeated at heavyweight, went down to light heavyweight, and has gone through everybody except Jon Jones.
Yeah.
He could go up to heavyweight right now, and I think he beats Stipe Miocic. I really do. So he lost. I thought it was a great fight. What did you think?
Yeah, man, I was really pulling for DC just because he's such a good guy. It's hard to not pull for somebody like that who he's just a clean fighter. He's a clean guy outside of the ring. And he called out Jon Jones, and I got really excited when the fight comes out and they clinched up, and you see DC knock out Jones's mouthpiece with a couple uppercuts and some dirty boxing. And he wasn't backing down from him, man. He didn't try to do a bunch of takedowns and blow himself out. He was there to fight, and he was stalking Jon Jones, walked him across the ring a couple times, and I was getting really excited. I know a couple of the scorecards had him losing the second round. I thought he was winning the first 2 rounds, and he just got caught. That's all there is to it. And how how great of a fighter is Jon Jones. The fact that Daniel Cormier, like you said, he's probably the second best fighter in the world, pound for pound, and Jon Jones, he knocked him out. Like one of the most brutal knockouts you'll ever see. Like he knocked him out cold and then got some more shots in until the referee realized it was time to stop it.
Yeah,
the best part.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the best part of the fight is I didn't know what Jon Jones was going to say after the fight. Like this was one of the most bitter rivalries we've seen in UFC, and I was not sure what to expect. And just a total class act after the fight. Really gave credit to Daniel Cormier. Who knows if Jon Jones gets back to where he is without Cormier there to push him?
Yeah.
Because Cormier had his title that Jon Jones never lost. He was the perfect fighter to get Jon Jones on the straight and narrow, and for him to come out and say that he wants to be a man like Daniel Cormier is, I thought that's probably one of the biggest respects that a man can get, is to have another man say, hey, I want to be like him as a person.
Right.
That to me was the perfect thing to say, and hopefully from here we see a long, great career from probably the best pound-for-pound fighter we'll ever see in UFC.
So be honest, did you cry?
What's that?
Did you cry?
I did not cry.
All right. Tell the truth. You cried, right?
There were no tears shed from the Gilbert household in Missouri.
Little allergies, maybe? No, nothing? All right.
No, nothing, man. It was awesome, though.
You seem a little emotional about it, all I'm saying. I mean, Daniel Cormier cried like a motherfucker. So,
dude, there were so many tears. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan apologized for it later, but, like, why put a fucking microphone in that guy's face right after the fight? Like, Daniel Cormier probably doesn't even remember that interview. Like, it was bad.
Yeah. He was knocked out pretty good, man, and he probably took about 5 or 6 extra shots, and and Joe was so apologetic afterwards. He feels terrible. He promised never to do it again. I really did not want to see that interview, and that was just kind of an unfortunate situation, especially to happen to such a good guy like Daniel Cormier. And Joe Rogan's a good guy too, man. So hopefully they don't have any issues over that. But I'm sure it's all good there. And like I said, Joe Rogan did apologize. Cormier's a class act. He's not going to hold any grudges for that. And Cormier after the fight, he didn't make any excuses. He got caught. He knew it. He gave props to Jon Jones. Like I said, it's one of those things where Daniel Cormier is just caught in an unfortunate time where he's one of the best in the world, fighting in a weight class against the best of all time. Yeah, and then right after that failed attempt at an interview with Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, Jon Jones grabbed the mic, and this is a verbatim. He said, Brock Lesnar, listen, if you want to find out what it's like to get your ass kicked by a guy who weighs 40 pounds less than you, meet me here. I thought that was awesome, dude. That was totally awesome. So I did not know about the Lesnar and Jones speculation. I was up in the Redwoods. I had no cell signal. I actually would have to drive into the city just to send a text message. I had no idea this was coming, and I am totally on board. I'm extremely excited about it. I want to see the fight. The two Clomiphene warriors going at it. And it looks like it's going to have to be after WrestleMania, man. So Jon Jones may have to fight Alexander Gustafsson in the meantime, but I think he walks right through him. But that was awesome, dude. One of the best call-outs after UFC ever.
Yeah, and one of the big things with Jon Jones that he said before is, he hasn't really gotten the mega paydays. Part of that is because during the time period that these mega paydays had started, he was out. Like, he was suspended. He couldn't get them. But before that, he never really built himself up like a Conor McGregor or a Chael Sonnen did. Like, people wanted to watch his fights because he is the best in the world, but unfortunately, in combat sports, you have to be more than that to make people pay for you, make people pay a lot of money for you. So he said he, learned a lot from watching Conor McGregor's press conferences, and, it showed him that mega money can be made. It'll be interesting to see if Jones can start working that in because, before he was just a shithead, but he wasn't enough of a shithead for people to really hate him to want to see him get his ass kicked. He was just kind of a turd. Now let's see his, charisma come out. Let's see if he can match personality-wise to his talent and build that up. And the best way to get a big payday right now is to fight Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar is still one of the top draws in all of combat sports. Talent-wise, Jones is clearly better than him, but if he is going to be, let's face it, 40 pounds less, that's probably an understatement. He'll probably walk in there 50, 60 pounds less than Lesnar.
Yeah, well, so Jones cuts down from about 220, 225. He could put on some weight, get to about 230 probably. Brock Lesnar walks around about 275, 280. So, yeah, about 50 pounds. So
yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Like, talent-wise, Jones is obviously better than him, but we've seen him be taken down before by guys who are not nearly as strong and as good of wrestlers that Brock Lesnar is. That's the only advantage Lesnar has, strength and wrestling ability. If Lesnar can take him down and just hold him down, that's where the clear-cut advantage will be. What kind of Brazilian jiu-jitsu does Jones have? Yeah, we've seen him tap out guys like Machida. That wasn't off of his back. And that's probably, if he can't stop Lesnar from taking him down, that's going to be his only chance to win, would be to get a submission off of his back.
Yeah, I don't think Brock Lesnar is able to take him down. I mean, so Brock Lesnar is only getting older. He's only getting more injuries. And whenever he fought Randy Couture in 2008 for the title, he was able to take Couture down, but he could not hold him down. And Couture was like 138 years old at the time and was about the same size as far as weight goes. Jon Jones is like naturally bigger than Randy Couture, but Randy was probably about 225, 230, and Lesnar actually knocked him out standing, and Lesnar's not knocking out Jon Jones. That's just not happening.
No.
He may not even get a punch standing on him. So I don't think he's able to take him down, and I think Jon Jones beats him within a couple of rounds. And I don't even think it's going to be hard for him, honestly.
Yeah, in all actuality, like the better fight quality out there, I think there's two, would be Stipe Miocic, because I think Miocic has better boxing. He's got length and size. I think he would match up well against Jones, and I still think Jon Jones wins that fight. But the best one, I think, would be Cain Velasquez, if he can ever get fucking healthy. Like, Cain Velasquez is going to be one of the great horror stories of UFC, because the guy could have just completely taken over the world before he started getting back injuries. But it'll be those guys who are a little bit more athletic and have much better boxing, because Lesnar's boxing sucks. Like, he's not a boxer. He's a take you down and just beat you with those meat hammers he calls fists.
Yeah, man.
If he has that shot against Jones, I mean, we've seen him take down, like, Frank Mir is a good wrestler. Frank Mir has great Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and Lesnar walked right through him in the second fight and just completely slaughtered him. I mean, if Lesnar could do that, it's possible. Because like I said, we've seen Jones get taken down, but the guy can eat a punch. Like, he's proven that against DC. He proved that against Machida. Lesnar's only chance is to take him down and hold him down. And I don't know if his cardio would allow him to do that for 5 rounds against somebody like Jon Jones.
No, and Jones is real slippery too, man. And Jones has fought better wrestlers than Brock Lesnar. He fought DC. DC would whoop Brock Lesnar, and it wouldn't even be close. So, but you know what? Hey, they got my money already. So, I love the spectacle. I love big fights like that. And so, since we last talked, we're not going to stay on this topic too long, but we had WWE Battleground. That show sucked. And there was a funny tweet. So there's a guy on Twitter. His name's WWE Creative Humor Ish. I think it's at WWE Creative Humor Ish.
Yes.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he has a podcast too. But he was live tweeting SmackDown, and I don't know why I just thought of this, but I think because when I said spectacle, I was thinking of the Punjabi prison. So he was live tweeting, and whenever Rusev and Randy Orton were talking about having a match, the creative humor guy, said, just so long as it's not a Punjabi prison match, a flag match, or any other bullshit matches. And Randy Orton not only liked it, but retweeted it. So I don't think that they're going to do anything stupid at SummerSlam. They'll have like a 5-minute match. But so we've got a lot to talk about as far as the world of pro wrestling goes. Brock Lesnar aside. This past Monday, we had a triple threat match prior to SummerSlam. SummerSlam is going to have a big 4-way main event with Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Roman Reigns. Well, this week got a little bit of a preview with a triple threat match. We had Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. They had a really good and fun match with Roman Reigns beating Samoa Joe. So that basically means Samoa Joe's winning the world title at SummerSlam, right?
Usually, given WWE's creative direction, it'll mean that probably, Samoa Joe or even Braun Strowman would walk away with the title there, because usually the guy who builds up and gets all the wins leading up is the guy who doesn't win, which makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, man, and it's usually the guy who takes the pin before the show, and then because they want everyone to be surprised. Oh, he won, and then I think that's what they do, and I think that Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns has a really fun fall feud, man. I like when those two guys wrestle. I think that's a fun feud. They'll probably move on from Braun Strowman, have him matched up with somebody else, but. Yeah, I think it's really good. And also this week, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman did an interview on Monday Night Raw saying that if Brock Lesnar loses the WWE title, then he's leaving the UFC. That's kind of a worked shoot type of angle there. Obviously playing off all the rumors with Brock and Jon Jones. I think he loses. I don't think he leaves WWE after SummerSlam. I think today in the Observer it came out that he's 100% a lock for WrestleMania. So I don't think anybody should be too worried about that. But I do think that he is absolutely losing the world title at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean it's a simple way to write him off TV, because Brock Lesnar is not going to be around for at least a couple months. Probably won't come back until Survivor Series. But with that being said, I mean Madison Square Garden is in November. I don't know when his drug testing violation is up. I don't know when his suspension is over. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE lets him go to UFC. I mean, it'll help their ratings. They'll get some advertisement from UFC. UFC pushed them a little bit on a few shows for loaning them Lesnar last year, and they really need all the help they can get to get viewers, because ratings have been sucking for the better part of a year now.
Well,
I would be 100.
Yeah, dude, there's no way WWE lets him do that before WrestleMania. They're not going to risk WrestleMania because there's a high probability that he ends up with a concussion in the Jon Jones fight. So I think what they do is after WrestleMania, that's when his contract expires. I think he goes and does the Jon Jones fight and then comes back to WWE. Takes like a year off or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, I've tried to stay behind Lesnar and advocate for him, but I don't care if he comes back after WrestleMania. I mean, the guy hasn't had a good match in over a year, maybe longer than that. I don't care. Like, he does nothing for me anymore. So go to UFC, go make $5 million and just retire.
Yeah, maybe that's what he'll do. He'll want to go up into the mountains in Canada, man, and never be heard from again. I think that's his dream, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
but he loves money, dude, so I could see him coming back to WWE right after that fight. And WWE loves money as well, and Brock does bring them some money. Despite, a lot of people being disappointed with his matches lately, they still draw. They're still exciting when they happen, and, people still kind of gravitate towards that guy, dude. He's an attraction. He's like a modern-day Andre the Giant, honestly. So staying on Raw, my Who Gives a Shit of the Week. I just figured one out. Jason Jordan and The Miz are in a feud. And who gives a shit, man? Dude, that whole Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle about Angle being his daddy, that whole thing died, and now they're trying to transition him into an Intercontinental title feud. Jason Jordan has negative charisma, and Miz is going to try to carry this whole program. It is falling so fucking flat, dude.
Yeah.
They need to just drop the whole thing. Here's my solution. Drop the whole thing. Bring in Shelton Benjamin and have Shelton and Jason Jordan tag. And have Shelton kind of be like Uncle Shelty or something like that, man. But they got to get rid of this fucking thing.
Yeah. I could have went with that for my Who Gives a Shit, but I had used that as my Who Gives a Shit for like 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, The Miz is the perfect guy for him to feud with because, like you said, Jordan has no charisma, and Miz will be able to carry the entire feud on the mic. Like, he's so underrated for how good he is. Like, he's one of the best heel trash talkers the company's had in a long time, and I hope the guy becomes a manager one day because he can build up feuds so well. But I mean, I don't know. Like you said, no one gives a shit about this whole angle they're going with. It's definitely not believable. It hasn't gotten any reaction, but man, Kurt Angle's really trying, isn't he? Like, they posted a family picture together.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you've seen that. Like,
I saw it. It was, dude, it made me laugh because it's just so ridiculous. He's there with Angle's other kids. I was like, oh my God.
Like, kudos to Kurt Angle. Like, he is trying. Like, he is doing everything he can. When they did the announcement, he got tears out of his eyes. He's posting family photos. He brought his wife into it, and his wife's okay. Like, the Kurt Angle is absolutely bought into this angle, even if nobody else has.
Yeah, man, you got to give it to Kurt. Can I have a second who gives a shit of the week?
Why not?
So the main event of Raw was Big Cass and the Big Show. Two bigs and a big piece of shit match on a big piece of shit show. What the hell, dude? I got nothing else to say. I just wanted to say big piece of shit.
Well, here's my worry. Like, last year when Enzo Amore got hurt, the very next night when he got hurt in Chicago, I think was it Battleground or Extreme Rules, and then they were in St. Louis the very next night for Monday Night Raw, and I was there. And Cass came out and he got a huge pop. He got to be on the mic for the first time and he absolutely killed it. And I went home that night, read some reports, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's going to be a star one day. Like, he's going to be a single star." And just a matter of time, they're going to split Cass and Enzo up, and Cass is going to get pushed to the moon. They split them up, and now they're like, all right, what do we do next? Let's throw him against the Big Show, because that's something people would care about. Like, what the hell are you thinking here?
Yeah, man, and I think they should have kept him a tag team, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and it was in the Observer again today. Dude, Enzo Amore has got a ton of heat on him right now in the locker room. He had gotten kicked off the bus. On Monday night, after Raw was over, they had that show Bring It to the Table with Peter Rosenberg, JBL, and Corey Graves. And Corey absolutely buried the guy on TV. And that's not for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, they told him to do that. And he straight up said, like, I don't like him as a person. He is annoying. He's constantly got heat in the locker room. Everybody seems to hate the guy, but they cannot deny his charisma. People don't like him personally, and he sucks in the ring. And it's unfortunate because he's got one of the coolest gimmicks. He's got a crazy style. The guy can kill it on the mic. They're actually talking about sending him down to NXT and having him be a star there. That may be good for him and get him off of Vince McMahon's radar for a while, because Vince obviously hates the guy. But man, it just sucks because I had so much like high hopes for Enzo Amore. I thought he was going to be a big star, and I loved the tag team, man. I thought they had really good matches in NXT. Whenever NXT came to San Jose 2 nights before WrestleMania a few years ago, like, they were one of the best parts of the whole show, man. Like, people were going crazy for those guys. That intro they got is amazing, but man, he just could not keep it together long enough to not get heat, man.
Yeah, he, like you said, he apparently is just really annoying, but I mean, he is Trash Talker Skywalker, man. That was one of the coolest nicknames I've ever heard a person give himself. And he might just need to be a manager, because I think he's a better wrestler than people realize. But with a lot of, if you're just a good wrestler, you can't be great in WWE because their style, it's condensed so much and it holds you back. So he's a really good wrestler, so he doesn't get to be really good in WWE. If he goes down to NXT and tries to become a single star, I think it might be better for him. Or even if they decide to, like, hey, this guy's just a manager, he's going to need to be used to build somebody else up, I think he could really help somebody else in their career long term. We might see him in Global Force, though, before the end of the year.
Yeah, he might be.
In all honesty, because Global Force needs name recognition, and they need somebody who can get people bought in. Enzo Amore is going to get you bought in. Like, he'll give you great promos every single time. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's ultimately the move. There was already talk of him being because WWE is trying to save money right now without cutting a lot of people. You can tell by them not having pyros anymore and cutting so many shows out of the network. They're trying to save money. Enzo Amore could end up being a casualty there.
Yeah, man, it's unfortunate, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
If everybody in the locker room hates you, I mean, it sounds like nobody's going to shed a tear if he's gone.
Yeah. So on SmackDown, they had a really good show this week. I skipped a lot through most of it, honestly, but I did watch the full John Cena Nakamura match, and I want to see more of that. That was an awesome match. John Cena did the right business. He let Nakamura go over clean on him. Nakamura almost fucking killed him with a failed exploder suplex that apparently was kind of just an accident. It's not really anybody's fault, but Cena seems to be okay with it, and actually shook his hand and raised his hand and stuff like that afterwards. But yeah, really fun match. I think it's a match we'll see again down the road. Who knows? Maybe Royal Rumble. I don't know. There's talk of John Cena going over to Raw again. But yeah, what did you think of that match, man?
Man, I loved it. I was really surprised that Knock walked out with a clean victory. Not just a clean victory, like at the end of the match, he totally no-sold an FU, or an attitude adjustment, I guess we're calling it now in the PG era. He took the attitude adjustment, and John Cena went to roll him up for a second one, and Knock just immediately busted out of it to set up the Kinshasa. So I was surprised. I've never seen somebody just completely no-sell Cena's finisher. But it's what needed to happen. One of my biggest complaints with Cena is, who has he put over? I mean, he put over AJ Styles last year, but that's it. Like, nobody's had their career made because of a match with John Cena. It's always been the other way around.
Well, Kevin Owens, he did put him over like right away, set him up as a big star. He
put him over once and then came back and beat him 3 times in a row.
I think it was was it 3 times? I thought it was twice, but
I think it was 3 times in a row.
Well, but he's a babyface. Owens is a heel. The babyface should win the series, right? But Owens has been strong ever since. When you're creating new stars, though, you can't always have that mentality. If Owens would have came out, if they wouldn't have done the rematch, Owens can come out and be immediately your biggest heel. But when Cena came back, Owens lost a couple times in a row clean. And who won from that feud? John Cena. Like, John Cena hasn't made anybody a star, and that's been the problem with him. Going back, years ago, like, Stone Cold helped make The Rock a star. Like, The Rock would have became a star either way, but Stone Cold helped make The Rock a star. Bret Hart helped make Stone Cold a star. The Undertaker has made several people stars. John Cena has been the biggest wrestler in the world for at least 10 years, probably longer, and hasn't made anybody a star. And that's what people get upset with him on. So it was good to see him come out. Nakamura is a little bit older. I would have preferred somebody younger to kind of get the rub from him. But Nakamura definitely deserved it. And, going to get a little bit more into SummerSlam plans here. I want Nakamura to win the title at SummerSlam. I think that's the plan. But there's already that rumor that Baron Corbin's going to cash in on him at the end of SummerSlam, and I think that's going to drive fans crazy. Yeah, that would suck. It would get a lot of heat, but dude, I just don't see anything in Baron Corbin. I know he's tall, and I gotta respect the guy with a receding hairline, my brother, but I don't give a shit about Baron Corbin. I just don't know what it is. Like, there's nothing interesting about him.
That's just going to set up a Baron Corbin versus Nakamura feud again. Their last match, like,
it was one of the worst matches.
The match.
Yeah,
they weren't very good. Like, 100% honesty, like, the match everybody wants to see is AJ Styles versus Nakamura. And to be fair, you probably need to hold that off until WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
But the best way to do it, the best way to make that match feel bigger, is if Nakamura wins the title at SummerSlam and carries it clean all the way until WrestleMania.
Yeah.
If he has clean wins against every challenger in front of him until WrestleMania, and you can split that up a little bit because you don't have to have him defend the title at Survivor Series, because you could probably have him in a multi-man match for your traditional Survivor Series match there. So you buy yourself a little bit of time and maybe not have to have 5 or 6 challengers. You can probably get away with a Jinder Mahal rematch, have him take out Mahal in September, do whatever you want in October, Survivor Series in November, and then bam, we're already close to Rumble. But I don't see Baron Corbin as championship material right now. I think he needs to hold the briefcase longer and have a few good wins, a few good feuds to see if he is the guy. And right now he's not.
Yeah, man, maybe they have him do a failed cash-in attempt at some point. But yeah, I don't know, man. I hope he doesn't win it. So let's go ahead and I don't want to talk about SummerSlam too much. I'd like to save most of that for the week of SummerSlam. I think that would be better. But as it stands right now, it looks like they got a fatal 4-way for the world, for the Universal Intergalactic whatever the fuck title with Lesnar, Strowman, Joe, and Reigns. Underneath that, you got Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura, John Cena and Baron Corbin, Randy Orton and Rusev. What else, man? Oh, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus and Cesaro. Oh, you know what we forgot to talk about?
Is it the Awoken Hardys?
They have awoken. They're no longer broken. They are awoken. Woke Hardys. Awoken Hardys. I don't know the fuck, man, but
Awaken?
No, I think it's the Woken Hardys.
Woken, okay.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I say fuck Global Force. Who needs it?
Yeah, well, they're not broken. They're awoken.
Right.
Like, I mean, can you copyright or patent a personality or a way a guy talks?
I don't think you can. No.
Yeah.
I think there was lawsuits back in the 90s because whenever Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, they left the WWE and went over to WCW, and they were using their regular names, but they were still acting like, Razor and Diesel a little bit. There was a lawsuit there that I don't think went anywhere. I don't think anybody got anything. So I don't think that Global Force wants to take on, the WWE in a lawsuit. So I think there's a clear line there that, and Global Force could not, they weren't able to trademark the broken characters and things like that. So as long as they switch the names around, I don't see that there's an argument. I think, and that's what I was saying weeks ago, man. I think I talked about it on the Garbage Time podcast. It's like, why don't you just do, because most people have not seen those characters. Most people don't watch TNA Global Force because TNA Global Force sucks. So you can just switch it around a little bit, put it on your platform on the WWE, and everybody will think that it's yours. So it's like, who gives a shit? Call them the Woken Hardys. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, and even though a large majority of the fan base for WWE fans haven't seen it, you can tell the people at the arenas know it, because once Matt Hardy starts talking with that little accent and his eyes get a little bit wider and he starts chomping his teeth, the crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. And I got to laugh at Global Force a little bit because they tried to trademark or copyright Brother Nero, but Nero is actually Jeff Hardy's middle name. Like, you can't trademark the guy's legal middle name and not allow him to use it.
They tried to trademark Broken Matt, and they couldn't get it because that's Matt's fucking name. Like, his name is Matt. You can't trademark his first name. So stupid. Yeah. So they could trademark, Broken Universe and things like that, but all WWE has to do is say Woken Universe.
Yeah,
right?
It's the Woken Universe. And
yeah. I don't like the fact that you can trademark words.
Yeah.
Like, TNA doesn't own those words, right? Those words were around long before TNA was in existence. They can't trademark the fucking English language. Although Gene Simmons might actually try to do it one day. But as far as right now, you can't do that. So I think it's silly that they try to trademark the word broken from being used on any other. It's like, then what else are you going to trademark? Can you trademark the word wrestling? This is so stupid.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but I feel like SummerSlam is finally where we're going to get to see the Hardys fully awoken, I guess, and see that fully come out. And I think their feud with the Revival can be really good. I guess Anderson and Gallows are now getting mixed up in this, so is it going to be a triple threat tag match? I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, I could see it opening the show or being on the prelim show, because right now they got 12 matches lined up for that show. I think they said Bayley and Alexa Bliss, although Bayley got hurt, so they might go Nia Jax on that one or something, or maybe Sasha Banks. I think they said Naomi versus Natalya, and then they have all the other women they need to throw in a match. They're going to have a cruiserweight title match. I think Akira Tozawa versus I almost said Aaron Neville, like it's the singer, Adrian or Neville, whatever. So it's looking at like a 5.5 hour show. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think it's going to be a prelim early match show.
Yeah, and also not to forget, one of the biggest storylines leading up to SummerSlam is who the fuck is messing with Breezango. Like, that's a big deal right now. We got to know who's been attacking them. Yeah,
everybody's saying it's going to be Luke Harper and Eric Rowan.
Because they're back together again.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not doing anything else with the guys, so it would make sense. I would like to see that. Or they could bring up Sanity.
Yeah, I think Sanity is an interesting choice, but the most likely scenario is probably Harper and
Rowan.
I can't even remember.
Rowan.
Rowan.
They're actually a good tag team, mainly because of Harper. Harper's great, but I like that tag team. I don't see the feud going anywhere because, man, I love Breezango and the Fashion Police. I think they're awesome. Their skits are great, but when the bell rings, it's like their matches are like 3 minutes long and it's all comedy, so nobody cares, right?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, they're not there to put on 4 or 5 star matches. They're there to be a little bit of comic relief, which hopefully, doing this gets them something better in the future, because both of those guys are really good performers. They deserve something more serious than this, but right now it's just not the right situation. So let them go out there and have fun.
Absolutely. All right, so we only got a few minutes left. Let's go get into some quick hits here. First one, Alberto was an asshole. Nothing new happened. I'd just like to say that. Although in the last week, or since we've last spoke to everybody, the update is Alberto is suspended from TNA's house shows, or the Global Forces house shows they're doing in the Northeast. And so their world champion is not even going to be able to wrestle at their house shows. So because of that, Alberto's an asshole.
Yeah, and also Paige is an asshole, because since we last spoken, it is Paige who is, I guess, the offending party there, and she is going to be the one charged in that incident. So Paige is also a big asshole.
Definitely. Moose signed a 3-year contract extension with Global Force. Why?
If you want to not be sure you're going to get paid, and make sure that your paycheck is coming from the same place and is going to bounce from the same place every single time, why not re-sign with Global Force?
Yeah. Conor McGregor is going to be getting paid to live in the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. How do you get that deal?
I don't know, man. Like, Conor McGregor is close to God status at this point.
Yeah, man. He's getting away with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to get to it, but like Floyd Mayweather saying he might make $300 million off this fight.
Yeah, man, that's insane.
That's enough to last them probably at least a year and a half.
Oh, definitely, before he has to come out of retirement again. Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep bouncing around between MMA and pro wrestling, but kind of have a pro wrestling spin on this. Looks like CM Punk might have an opponent for later this year. His coach, Duke Rufus, said that he's scheduled to fight the dreaded TBA. TBA is a tough motherfucker, man.
I'll watch it because I like seeing Punk get his ass kicked. Like, the fucker has me blocked on Twitter, so he deserves whatever beating he gets coming to him.
Yeah, he has me blocked, but he does not have the Podcast Express blocked, so we have not said anything to him on Twitter to get blocked just yet. It'll happen. It'll happen. We'll be blocked by CM Punk and JBL shortly. I can,
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. John Cena is going to be in a movie called Bumblebee. It's kind of a spin-off of Transformers. Do you watch Transformers?
I don't, man. I watched like the 4th one. I think there's like 5 or 6 now. I'm not a huge fan of them, but it's a really big franchise, and it's going to be really big for John Cena to potentially really jumpstart his movie career. I know he's had other movies, but this will probably be the biggest movie he's been in. It could be what The Mummy was to The Rock, to just fully jumpstart his movie career.
Yeah, maybe, man. Good for him. I honestly don't know that I'll watch this, because I watched the first Transformers movie and I haven't seen another one since then. So, some people like them, some people don't. Speaking of movies, I know off topic. Did you see the new Spider-Man?
I did, man. I fucking loved it.
How awesome was that fucking movie?
Yeah, it's the best Spider-Man movie they've made so far.
It's not even close. Yeah. It is without a doubt the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time.
Michael Keaton is such a badass bad guy.
Oh, he was great.
Absolutely.
Nothing. I know off topic, nothing to do with wrestling or MMA, but it's our show, so we'll talk about whatever we want. But yeah, everybody go see Spider-Man if you get a chance. That was fantastic. It was amazing. All right, Chris Jericho was in TMZ because he got into an altercation with a fan who was being a douchebag. I think that guys like Chris Jericho, if fans are yelling at them, calling them assholes for not signing their autographs, they should be allowed to beat up the fan without any repercussion.
not just calling him an asshole for not signing an autograph, not signing an autograph after a tribute performance for a friend of his who had passed away.
Yeah, and it wasn't just his autograph. So he had been signing autographs for a while and had to cut off the line at a certain point. So you're not entitled to get a guy's autograph, especially late night after a show when he's like had an emotional night. If he says no, okay, say thanks anyway. You don't have to. Yeah. And the guy who wanted the autograph, I saw the video. He called Jericho the N-word. That's racist.
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean the guy calling Jericho the N-word was a black guy, but I still think there's if nobody can say that word anymore, so I think that guy is racist for saying it.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. What do we got? Oh, Karen Jarrett and Braun Strowman. So apparently they were in a bar a couple weeks ago. This is since we last spoke. It's also in the Observer this week. Karen Jarrett went up to Braun Strowman in a bar in Nashville after Raw and asked Braun Strowman, I guess while he was drunk, to sign an autograph for her son. And Braun Strowman said, "Fuck your son." And then Karen Jarrett's like, "Well, my son, do you know who his father is? It's Kurt Angle." And I guess Braun Strowman got down on his knees and begged Karen not to tell Kurt Angle. Not that Kurt would whoop his ass, but everybody loves and respects Kurt. But and apparently this happened in front of everybody. It was kind of a big story, and they were making fun of Jason Jordan because Braun Strowman wouldn't sign an autograph for him.
Oh my God! All right, I had seen their names pop up, but I didn't hear the story. I assumed that Braun Strowman slept with Karen Jarrett.
No.
But what really happened is so much better.
Yeah. So look, it's right here. So it says from multiple versions, including another eyewitness this week regarding the Karen Jarrett thing with Braun Strowman that was mentioned in last week's issue. When Jarrett asked Strowman for an autograph for her son, Strowman shot back nastily, "Fuck your son." That's awesome. That's what I would say.
Braun Strowman's slowly becoming my favorite wrestler in the world.
Maybe Braun's onto something. Maybe her son's a little pain in the ass. Maybe he sits too close to the TV. He doesn't put away his dishes. He doesn't put up his Jeff Jarrett, stepdad Jarrett steps on Legos and shit. Maybe her son is an asshole, and Braun just did not want to give that kid an autograph.
Yeah, God, man, I hope Braun Strowman wins the title here soon. That guy is just so damn great.
I think for that he goes into the Hall of Fame.
That's one of the best wrestling stories to come out in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, he had no idea who Karen Jarrett was because Braun doesn't watch Global Force, or TNA or anything like that. So yeah, no, that's one of my favorite stories of all time. All right, so real quick. Ring of Honor had posted that Kenny Omega was going to defend the United States or IWGP United States title in Ring of Honor coming up in October, and then they retracted that, saying that it's not going to happen, but he will still be on the card. I think it's because New Japan has a U.S. title match scheduled a month before that, and they don't want spoilers getting out and having any kind of false advertising, because they could switch title anytime they want to. But so the G1 is going on right now. I really tried hard this year to follow along closely. Dude, there's just so much of that G1. I can't do it, man. And I've watched some matches. I watched Okada and Juice Robinson. I saw Kenny Omega versus Minoru Suzuki in a freaking awesome match. Dude, Minoru Suzuki is becoming one of my favorite wrestlers ever. That guy's so awesome. And I saw Okada versus Michael Elgin, which was also a great match. There's way too much to watch. But, if anybody out there listening within the sound of my voice can keep track of the G1 and give us a full rundown, fucking let me know. You're welcome on the show, because, I'm a married guy with a full-time job. I can't keep up with the G1, man, but I know that it's great.
Yeah, no, at this point, the best way to keep up with it, in all honesty, is Wrestling Observer newsletter. I've just been going in, find the matches that are 4.5 star and above and watch those, because there's plenty of them. This has been a special year for match quality, and a lot of them are happening in G1. So just 4.5 star and above, and those are the matches to watch, just to not consume all of your time, but still see some of the best wrestling out there.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, that's all I got, Joe. Do you got anything else?
No, man. We do want to throw out there a little rumor for SummerSlam, and moving forward is the possibility of Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon is going to do about 1 or 2 matches a year. There's the rumor that Owens and McMahon are going to get into a feud. Part of me is like, who gives a shit on that? Because we know Owens is going to win. Shane McMahon's not won a single match since he's come back. But another part of me realizes Shane had a hell of a match against AJ Styles, so it could be something pretty special.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen at SummerSlam because one match we forgot to bring up was AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon as the referee. So maybe post SummerSlam.
Yeah, it would be, the feud would be starting there with Shane as the referee. I'm assuming something will happen with Shane as referee to kind of start the feud with Owens and probably progress to maybe Survivor Series where we might see that feud finish off.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm a big fan of Shane McMahon's matches. They're kind of a train wreck. But I like that sort of thing. So I think they would have an awesome match. So how about that? I do give a shit about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
What are you watching this weekend, man? What should everybody look out for?
Man, I honestly, I've got a free weekend, so I'm just going to sit down and XWT, definitely your friend, going to download a few G1 matches and just get caught up. Nothing in specific yet, but it's probably all going to be G1 matches.
Yeah, man. And for me this weekend, I'm going to be watching some old school WWE circa 1998 SummerSlam Highway to Hell. No, I take it back. I'm going to be watching SummerSlam 2002 because tomorrow on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and our friend Conrad Thompson, they're actually going to be covering that one in depth. And that was a really, really good pay-per-view. And they're going to cover all the behind-the-scenes stories. So I'm actually going to try to watch that this weekend if I get some time. I also am going to get some G1 stuff, but...
Yeah, was that the return of HBK, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H?
It absolutely was, yeah.
Well, yeah, I remember. I actually one of the few pay-per-views I got to watch live without my cousin Michael at that age. Most of the pay-per-views I watched during that time period was when you were still in Missouri, but we had some other family friends in the area who were nice enough to order that one, and I got to watch it happen. And that was the only match I remember from it, and it was a hell of a match.
So where was it? You were there live?
No, I wasn't live, but I got to watch it like as it happened.
Was it at Joe Rogers' house?
It wasn't. Scott and Tanya.
Oh, yeah. The Andersons.
Yeah.
It was fun. So everybody's already turned off the podcast by now, but Tanya was friends with my mom, and me and Randy used to go hang out over there, and they had a big sign on their door that said the Anderson.
Yeah.
Which was funny because. Scott ended up living there by himself for a long time after that.
Yeah.
because he messed up the sign on the door. But hey, speaking of our retarded family, what happened to your brother today?
Yeah, he is taking a family vacation up to the Northeast, and they are stopping at Fenway Park on his way back. And the stupid fucker got a $75 parking ticket in Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody. Go to we'll tweet at Rocky. Joe, do that after we hang up. Tweet at Rocky so other people can make fun of him. How about that?
Yeah,
that'd be great.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, that's all we got for this week. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll try to have a guest on next week. Me and Joe both will be harassing people on Twitter and on Facebook and trying to get them to come on to the show. If not, fuck it. We'll just talk to ourselves. Who cares? All right, everybody. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.